Well, good afternoon. It's noon on Thursday. This is Coffee with Ralph, and I'm Ralph Gillum, your host. Each week I try to talk about something that's rather pertinent to this long-term care discussion I've been having, well, for almost a year now. The other day I was at, one of those burger places, getting a hamburger, and in front of me was this woman who was in her late 70s. Um, and her handicapped son was with her. The first thing that I noticed was the difference in size and the fact that she was leading him around by the arm. She was probably 5'1", maybe, 130 pounds. And well, he was over 6 foot and probably 250 or more. So my first thought was I appreciated the fact that she took care of this child her whole life, but here she is in her late 70s, and he's probably, I don't know, late 40s, mid 40s. Apparently legally blind, and mentally challenged as well. The reason I say that is he was carrying some books, one of which I knew quite well, Cat in the Hat by Dr. Seuss. Story I'd read my children many times when they were little. And I assumed or concluded that he was probably legally blind as well. And the reason I say that is the books were all very large print, the big books, right? The big books and big print, big words, all capital letters, all that nice stuff. She had him carry the tray over because she wasn't as steady on her feet as you'd hope. So he carried the tray to the table, and then he became very angry. He started to get really upset. And I realized what it was very quickly. And he left his books on the counter, and he thought he'd lost them. So I picked the books up and carried them over to the table and handed them to mom, and mom gave them back to the boy or the young man or man. I'm not even sure what the man. And he calmed down and proceeded to eat his dinner. But I'm thinking to myself, I told the story quite a long time ago now about Mary, Linda, and Sue. Mary is mom. Linda is a adult female handicapped. Her mental capacities were limited because the sutures in her head sealed too quickly, so her skull never got a chance to expand and accept the growing brain. So she was maybe 12 or 13 mentally. Wonderful, wonderful client to have. I mean, Mary took real good care of Linda, and she had a plan that was to be put in place when she died, which was all her assets were to go to the care of her adult daughter, and what was left would go to her sister, Sue. It's not how the story turned out. Um, and I'll share it briefly. I mean, it goes a lot more in depth than this, but when Mary passed away, I got the transfer forms in to take her assets and send them to Sue's broker. Um, Somehow they managed to change the names on the accounts, and she went from custodian to the owner of the funds, and she's going to do a better job taking care of the money, whatever. The normal stories that you hear as a financial advisor about why they're changing brokerages. But the long and short of it was, several months, maybe 6 months later, it was getting cold. I can remember that. It was maybe September-ish, late September. I get a call at my office, and it's Linda. And Linda had kept my card because the first call she made when her mom died. She fell asleep and never woke up. And as Linda told me when she called me, her mom told her she could call me anytime for anything. And so she called me, telling me her mom wouldn't wake up and that she was very cold. I immediately called 911. We got some people over there. Sue came over, and that's when, that story whole begins. But down the road, 6 months, I get this call from Linda, and she's just wondering if I could go to the store and get her some peanut butter, not the crunchy kind, and some lumpy strawberry jelly, and some wonderful bread, and some milk with a pink cap. Okay. Well, the inquiry is, where's Sue? Well, I don't know. She's not answering my phone calls. And her brother, I think his name was Paul, lived in Denver, Colorado. I still had their contact information, so I called Paul, and I called Sue, and she didn't answer. So I called the brother just to let her know. And he goes, "Well, if you can go ahead and take care of that for me, I'll be more than happy to take care of you, the bill, when I get there." Okay. So I did, and I went over to Linda's, and the place was, pretty much like Mary left it. I could tell you real quick that nobody was living there with Sue, or with Linda, excuse me, which Sue was supposed to move in with her, but there was nobody living there. And so, I delivered this stuff. And of course, I was invited to stay for supper, which, you guessed it, was peanut butter and jelly. Whole story about how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich there. But back to my other story, or let me finish this one real quick. I'd noticed a stench when I walked in. Of course, it was garbage, and the garbage cans were clean, but it was emanating from the garage door, which was right by the front door. So I asked Linda what was the smell, and she goes, "Well, Mom always told me when a garbage full is I was supposed to put it in the garage." You telling me that you've got a couple bags of garbage in the garage? A couple more than a couple. Okay. So we opened the door, and I would tell you there's probably 6 months worth of garbage in that garage, and it reeked. It was awful. On my way out the door after delivering this food tour, I happened to notice a garbage man coming down the street, and I flagged him down and asked him if he could help me get the stuff out of the garage, which is not their normal process. But, I explained to him what was going on. He goes, "I thought something was weird because the garbage can stayed at the curb, and nobody ever came to get it back to the garage." Oh, okay. So Linda had been told put the garbage in the garage, and Mom would take the garbage can out to the front when it was full. It hadn't been done. I was called everything but a white man when Sue got back into town about minding my own blanking business and all kinds of things. But adult social services stepped in and found out that she was living pretty high on the money it was supposed to be taking care of Sue. Again, another whole story there. But today's story was about this woman and her adult son. And so many questions passed through my mind. I mean, it's not my business to interfere and interrupt their conversation or their meal or anything of that nature. So I didn't. But I'm thinking, okay, what if she has a heart attack like Mary did? Will this young man, this man, know what to do? What if Mary starts to need care, or this woman started needing care? What's going to happen to this man? Does she have other children? Are they involved in any way, shape, or form here? What about her estate? Is he provided for if she passes away, or when she needs care, is he provided for? A lot of questions, but that just reminded me of the importance of making sure your plans are inclusive, making sure this plan of care, that was set me on a mission for this document that Tyler and I are working on in this course that we're working on to put together to help people walk through this future time of their life. We don't want to look at that. I mean, funeral directors now go, well, come talk to us and we'll have it all planned out for you for that moment in time when you are no longer with us. But nobody wants to sit down and talk about this period of time. It's not fun. Let's be honest. It's not the funnest conversation in the world. And it takes a little bit more thought and planning than what happens when I die. Right. So listen, it's been Coffee with Ralph. Remember, coffeewithralph.com is a free 15-minute phone call with me. And if you require additional time to ask a few more questions, that's fine too. Just let me know that in the comments on the appointment, coffeewithralph.com, free 15-minute phone call with me. Hey, listen, I want everybody to have a blessed day and a blessed week.